Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, and we are going to be talking about the week in professional wrestling right here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes or on your favorite podcast application. It all depends. And thank you very much for listening, whichever way you decide. Now, if you want to show some support and help grow the show, there's a couple of ways you can do this very, very simply. First of all, if you're on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, of course, like this video that you're watching right now. Subscribe to the channel if you feel like I deserve it, and that way you won't miss a single thing that I put out. You won't miss a single Mr. Warren Hayes show proper. You won't miss any editions of Hot Shakes and Hand Dogs, which is my independent wrestling podcast that I do with my co-host Sean Taggart. You won't miss a single one. So that's another great way to show some support. And you can also leave a comment. And I love comments. I love chatting wrestling with people. I honestly, I do that all day if I could. So why don't you drop some comments in the comment section? Talk to me about Sasha Banks and Naomi. What do you think about that? Ric Flair making a return to wrestling. What do you think about that? Did you like anything on AEW Dynamite this week? Because it seems it was a bit of a contentious one. Drop a comment. Let me know. And if you're feeling up to it, you can leave a super thanks, which is like a super chat, but for comments. And you know what? I will read your super thanks comments and maybe open up some discussion with it on the show next week. And I'll be very much appreciative, of course, of your help, your support. Thank you very much. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, look, that's even simpler. Leave a 5-star review on Apple iTunes. Well, it does belong to Apple, but leave a 5-star review on Apple iTunes, leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, and that will also help everything grow, help the Mr. Warren Hayes Show find new audience, find new people. It's really easy, super simple, tiny little things that you can do to help the channel, the show grow, and I would be very appreciative if you could do that. And of course, you follow everything that we do at Bell to Bells, your women's wrestling wire for women's wrestling, belltobells.com, youtube.com/belltobells. And don't forget as well, there's a Discord where the Mr. Warren Hayes Show community congregates to talk about wrestling all throughout the week. Cool people, a great community. Link is in the description, of course. I think I've talked about everything that isn't related to wrestling. And tonight, of course, we're talking about Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out of Raw. We're going to talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling Capital Collision, which is the show that they had in DC last weekend. An update on the Best of Super Juniors. We're on we're up to 4 nights of the tournament. So we got some stuff to talk about there. And AEW Dynamite. Johnny Elite, Maki Ito. A bit of a contentious Dynamite for some people. And I've got some thoughts on that. Let's stop talking about me having thoughts about things and get right to it. It's time for me to say something nice about Bill Goldberg.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
You know what? Ricky Steamboat never turned down a Goldberg match before.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
Never wrestled him either, but he never turned it down either. Oh, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fine. Let's get right to it. The weekly wrestling inspection. How about we start with some breaking news? I should get a theme song for the very short moments. Or the very rare occasions where we have breaking news, like stuff that happens just before I get on the air and whatnot. You know, it's like, pew, 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 pew. I should get like like a stinger that appears in the breaking news. Because we've got breaking news. As I was getting ready for the podcast, we had the boys and girls over at Fightful Select reporting that Tessa Blanchard, revealing more details about Tessa Blanchard's departure from Women of Wrestling. I was not planning on talking about this, but anytime I have an occasion to sort of scratch that Tessa Blanchard drama itch, I'm going to do it. In a new report from Fightful Select, we get more details on the previous report saying that Blanchard was on the outs with WoW. In fact, the report notes that trouble had been brewing for quite some time, dating as far back as January. There are sources that are telling Fightful that the issue might actually escalate to a courtroom, where the report said multiple sources reached out to say that it was indicated to them that there could be legal recourse between the two sides and were concerned about possibly being involved in that. That's the quote from the Fightful Select report. There's, of course, no official statement as to what's going on right now regarding Tessa's affiliation. You know, apparently the tapings were postponed. It sent the whole Women of Wrestling reboot into a bit of a tizzy. And yeah, personally, I've never been like in a tizzy. I don't know what a tizzy looks like. I don't know how good or bad a tizzy is. Apparently, I think it's bad because it's never used in a positive context. But you know, coming over here, you know, I would say, you know, I don't know if I've ever been in a tizzy, but you know, I wouldn't want to be put in one because everyone keeps telling me, you know, tizzies aren't good. So just throwing that out there. So there we go. So this is what we know for now. You know, these are the broad stroke details. Of course, you know, like, you know, I don't want to, you know, to take away so early, like anything that Fightful Select does have to provide at this point. But, you know, the fact that there's some legal issues that might involve, that this might escalate. What, like, is this Tessa's cursed, but she, like, not in the sense that, oh, bad things always seem to happen to her. No, like, she's always at the center of this. She provokes these things. She makes these things happen. You know, people who end up not being able to work in promotions because of their, you know, that get fired and they go to another place and they get fired. It's usually maybe one place, and one, you know, you go wrestle in one place and you get fired, and maybe, you know, that was incompatibility. Maybe it was their fault. You get fired from another place, you're like, well, okay, this is a little strange, but all right. Third time, you know, then it becomes a pattern, and the pattern here is, you know, the constant in this pattern is Tessa Blanchard. This is not working out. And I don't remember seeing who would be the last person to have wrestler, male, female, to have shown so much talent and to have been such a legitimate crowd pleaser, right? And to have gotten themselves in the way of their success so hard. Right? Like, I don't remember. I'm trying hard to remember. Like, Warrior, maybe? Alberto Del Rio. That's, okay. No, Nope, not Sasha. Because Sasha has success. Continued success. But Warrior's definitely one. Alberto Del Rio's a good call. I mean, at this point, Tessa's damaged goods, right? Oh, we got some great suggestions. Yes, I'm sure. Jake Roberts in the 90s. Yeah, he, you know, absolutely. But, you know, his problems were also very linked to addiction, alcohol abuse. You know, that those can create those don't, you know, Tessa really just seems to be an attitude problem, right? Just doesn't play well with others kind of situation. Oh well. Look, we're gonna going to keep thinking about this. We're going to keep moving on. But this is getting interesting. And frankly, I'm going to tell you guys straight off the bat, out the gate, very, very frankly, I am much more inclined to get into the new season of WoW if it ever happens at this point. But I'm much more inclined at this point. I was very much turned off by the use and appearance of Tessa Blanchard in this thing, despite the fact that, AJ Mendez was involved. Now I feel like I have, free reign here. Let's do this. Good. I'm excited. I didn't know if you heard, Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of Raw this Monday. Perhaps you heard. Perhaps. It's been, it's a little tiny tidbit of news, but let's read the article from PW Insider, who were Mike Johnson, who was the first to report the news. This is how it came to our ears here. The main event for tonight's Monday Night Raw broadcast changed at the last minute to Becky Lynch versus Asuka after two talents walked out late in the day as Raw went on the air in Norfolk, Virginia. The word making the rounds backstage at the taping is that Sasha Banks took issue with some of the planned creative for the original main event, a Raw six-pack challenge to determine Bianca Belair's next challenger at Hell in a Cell. Banks had a meeting with Vince McMahon, and the belief among those we've heard from is that when McMahon didn't choose to change the direction of the plans, Banks wouldn't back down on her issues and made the decision to leave the taping. Naomi, her WWE Women's Tag Team Championship partner, left with Banks, even though she was also booked in the main event match. WWE quickly shot several new segments with Adam Pearce and Becky Lynch to instead set up Asuka versus Lynch as the new main event. And at the time, Mike Johnson said, this is a developing story, so there may be additional updates. And boy, oh boy, was he not wrong. Oh boy. So I'm gonna switch over to the condensed version here over on the Figure 4 online. Fightful Select later reported that Naomi was originally scheduled to win the match. The six-pack challenge was set to feature Banks, Naomi, Doudrop, Nikki, ASH, Asuka, and Becky Lynch, which was advertised at the start of Raw. In a later segment backstage, Lynch told Adam Pearce that she saw Banks and Naomi leaving with their gear and tried to get herself named the number one contender. This is, of course, one of the skits that they shot. Pearce refused and instead turned the six-pack challenge into a singles match between Lynch and Asuka, where the winner would face Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair. Later during the show, and this went over really well, by the way, just rounds of rousing applause from everyone, a well-received moment. Later during the show, announcer Corey Graves mentioned that Banks and Naomi had, quote-unquote, unprofessionally left the arena. Banks and Naomi are the current WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. They successfully defended the titles against Natalya and Shayna Baszler on this Friday's SmackDown. Now, since then, actually in the same night, later on, WWE themselves released a statement, I think to the New York Post, if I'm not mistaken. Let's read it. Quote, when Sasha Banks and Naomi arrived at the arena this afternoon, they were informed of their participation in the main event of tonight's Monday Night Raw. During the broadcast, they walked into WWE Head of Talent Relations John Laurinaitis' office with their suitcases in hand, placed their tag team championship belts on his desk, and walked out. They claimed they weren't respected enough as tag team champions, and even though they had had 8 hours to rehearse and construct their match, they claimed they were uncomfortable in the ring with 2 of their opponents, even though they'd had matches with those individuals in the past with no consequence. Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. We regret that we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event. Oh, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but I want to make sure, like, for posterity's sake, we have the entire story, that we have as much context to where we're moving on here, okay? So a little later on in the evening, there is a Twitter user by the name of at Adidas_head88, who has tweeted about Naomi / Trinity Fatu in the past. He's considered to be a slash. Don't do the slash before saying something. He's considered to be a friend / a member of the inner circle of Trinity Fatu, the Usos. Like, he's said things regarding Naomi in the past that have been proven to be, if not true, suspiciously close to the truth, right? So he tweeted out a thread, and I'm going to read this to you because it does provide some insight, and you'll see in a second where I'm going with this. So this is from why can't I pronounce the fucking shoe name? Adidas_head88. You are approached in February as being put in a tag team after both being promised big feuds at WrestleMania. You bite the bullet and you put everything you got into being a tag team. It works, you get over, win the titles at WrestleMania, and become merch pushers. Because they got themselves over. 5 weeks into your reign, you show up to live TV and ready to work. You are told you will be in the main event and you are happy. You are both told that one of you will be going over from pinning the other. You have questions why that decision was made and how it helps y'all. You request a meeting with your boss to discuss it. Your boss takes the meeting and everything is actually going well. He understands your concerns. The meeting ends well and the match is told to be reconstructed. For some reason, producers get mad about it. You then ask, with one of your members going over, what happens to your titles? You are told basically that you will just be carrying the belts. They want to use both. They want to use you both to help both women's champions get more over. Bianca versus Naomi, Sasha versus Ronda. Neither one of you will win the solo titles, and you won't defend your tag titles until Money in the Bank. You ask for another meeting with your boss, but this time you are being called spoiled. A producer walks away screaming. He comes back and tells both of you to fix your attitudes. Y'all have a brief meeting amongst yourselves and decide to stand up for yourselves. You go to another boss and make it clear you just have concerns. You ask, why are we even in the match and why aren't other women in it? You ask why your titles have no stories for 2 months. Again, you are met with fix your attitudes. So after one final meeting with yourselves and asking others, you make the ultimate decision as a team. It's sad how one side is trying to create a fucked up narrative. The final tweet in the thread reads as follows. Also, it was asked why were Nikki Ash and Doudrop in the match instead of starting their program tonight. Not Naomi nor Sasha talked down about being in the ring with either one. I don't know how that got flipped. Now, this was all sort of, this was all sort of treated as some form of hearsay, but Pro Wrestling Insider, the very next day, put together a report that essentially corroborated what this person here, Adidas_head 88, had talked about in this thread. So there's a link, there's a direct correlation between the two here. So as it stands right now, we've even learned that Naomi's contract is up soon, right? So, will she be resigning? Will there be renegotiations? I don't know. But we don't know about the Sasha Banks thing and so on and so forth. Now, I'm glad everyone is very passionate about this topic, and with reason, right? Because Sasha Banks is one of the biggest stars in the company. She's an absolute proven draw. Earlier on, J.K. Schwal dropped a super chat and he says, "I'm here for your 23-minute victory lap." And I know what he's talking about. A couple of months ago, I dropped just before WrestleMania, right? I dropped a segment. I had a rant here on the channel, just completely baffled at the fact that Sasha Banks was being thrown in a nothing tag team match at WrestleMania when she's fucking Sasha Banks. She is the woman who, when she made her return to WWE on Monday Night Raw, that segment outdrew anything that Ronda Rousey had been doing up until that point. The facts are there. I've been giggling, having a lot of fun at the idea that I've become a Sasha stan, and it's like, hey, Sasha Stan Army, stick by me, and trust me, you much prefer to have the Sasha Stan Army on your side than the opposite. I've been poking a little fun at myself, memeing a little bit, but it's not even a question of being a stan. It's like there is observable evidence to show that people will tune into your goddamn sports entertainment show when Sasha Banks is on it. And it baffled me back then that they didn't know what to do with her, that the best that they could figure out was to put her in a tag team to have her go after the titles in a fucking, it was a 4-way match at WrestleMania? Like, one of the death knells for any wrestler where it's like, we don't have anything for you, we're just gonna, but we're gonna get you the WrestleMania payday, here you go. There's, 4-way tag team matches and the fucking Andre the Giant Battle Royal thing, which isn't even on WrestleMania anymore, right? I digress. Sasha Banks, I was telling you guys back then, she is not long for WWE. I don't want to sit here and say, I told you so, but I told you so. She's not long for WWE. She is bigger than WWE. People are going to say, Sasha's going Hollywood. Sasha's been going Hollywood for a while. She's in The Mandalorian. She's doing Marvel red carpet deals. She's on fucking things with fucking Kevin Hart. That YouTube show that he has where they sit in fucking vats of ice cold water. And Kevin fucking Hart himself is sitting there in his tub of water and he's telling Sasha Banks, yeah, you're great in WWE and all, but you're big, you'll be bigger than that. He literally tells her that. She gets a spot on The Mandalorian on Disney Plus in the Star Wars franchise. WWE barely makes a peep out of it. Why? Because she's getting these opportunities herself. Why? Because she's Sasha Banks and there's no other reason to deliver unto you. Because she is a fantastic wrestler. She has charisma out the ass. People love her. Whether she's a heel or a babyface, and I would even argue people like her better as a heel than a babyface. They'll still cheer for her. Sasha Banks is special. Sasha Banks is money. Sasha Banks is ratings. We get these stupid ass arguments on the internet where it's like, do we attract the casual fans? With someone like Sasha Banks, who is a bona fide star, not a manufactured star like you're going to try and make with Roman Reigns at this point. God bless Roman Reigns. He deserves to go off to Hollywood, do anything than put his body through what he's been going through for the past few years. He's ready for it, but he's not half the actor or has half the presence that Sasha Banks does. She is their mainstream crossover star. She is their current John Cena, but they don't want her. She wasn't picked. Vince didn't say, we're anointing you. She's doing this rogue. She's essentially doing the Matt Cardona internet title thing, but like on a larger scale where she's getting herself, quote unquote, over, to use wrestling parlance since it's a wrestling show we're on. She's getting herself over with a more mainstream crowd as opposed to sticking to her guns and doing what Vince wants her to do. This is the thing. This is the biggest deal. I can't even begin to tell you how huge this shit is that Sasha walks out. And I don't care if you like Sasha Banks or not. You have to respect someone who turns around and says, I know my worth. I know my value. And I do not need this. Few months ago, she's on the Stone Cold podcast. She's been dropping hints when you start to think about it. When you start looking around the environment and you're like, you know what? Sasha's been warning us. She's been telling us this is going to happen. She's on the Stone Cold podcast on the WWE network on the award-winning Peacock. And she's telling Stone Cold, and I'm paraphrasing here, there was a time I used to say, thank you for the hot dog. Thank you for the slice of pizza. Thank you for my time in the ring. Thank you for my time on TV. But I'm not at that place anymore. Now it's like, put me on TV, right? On the interview that she gave, what was it, The Athletic? It was The Atlantic. Which was part of the rant I had a couple of months ago, right? But it's before WrestleMania. She's saying that I want my face on the posters. Why would you not get behind someone who has ambition? Someone who is legitimately betting on herself. Someone who is bucking any trend that her current employer is setting for her. Is telling her, no, you have to go down this route. And she's like, no, I'm better than this. I know I'm better than this. I can do better than this. Why would you not stand for that? Why would your best argument then, why would then you start complaining and saying, oh, Sasha Banks, she's such a spoiled little brat, blah, blah, blah. All she does is complain. First of all, and if anyone listening right now has that type of argument, you're about to get deconstructed. First of all, there is a very fair chance that your favorite professional wrestler has griped and moaned and complained to the booker about an issue, about something, about his or her position in the company. It's happened. It's inevitable. The greats have done it. Ric Flair has done it. It's been well documented. Stone Cold Steve Austin has done it. It's been well documented. Bret Hart has done it. It's been well documented. Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. They've all done it. Triple H, Randy Orton. They've all bitched and moaned to management about shit at some point. Because you know what? Here's the plain simple truth. Wrestling is a business that revolves around the squeaky gears. If you stay in your hole and you say, I'm just happy to be here, you're going to be at I'm just happy to be here character for the rest of your life. That's what you're going to be relegated to, whatever role. And you're going to, I'm just happy to be here. They'll walk all over you, they'll do whatever you want. And whatever your career turns out to be, it'll turn out like that. But if you want to be a star, if you want to get up on the card, if you want to make more money, if you want to become an asset for your company, you have to complain. All of your favorite wrestlers have complained at some point. They honestly have. And there's nothing, that's part of the game. That's the first thing. The second thing, oh, she complains. Oh, she's done it before. She's done it before. Wouldn't that, So if she's complained to management in the past and she's still complaining today, does that mean that her complaints weren't answered that first time around? Or maybe the second time she's done it and now she's doing it a third time because, you know what? Nothing's changing, so I'm hitting the bricks. And that's entirely okay. And she's not an employee. She's an independent contractor. She can hit the bricks whenever right? She's not staff. She's not a member of WWE Corp. She's an independent contractor, right? So she should be able to walk out anytime. Doesn't matter. I know the contracts are ironclad and it's a whole other thing. I know I'm being facetious here. The point here is that I can't even listen to anyone backsassing this, saying she's wrong to do this. Because at some point, and I think she even said this on the Stone Cold podcast, at some point, you're done being just happy to be here, doing the dream job. At some point, it is a job, and it is your career, and you have to keep growing your career. So at some point, it's no longer, thank you for the hot dog and the slice of pizza. Now it's more like, I need more airtime, I need better stories, I need to be in the main event. I need to be making movies. Disney Studios has me in their eyes. Jon Favreau plucked me off of a YouTube show that I did where I was sitting around just stuffing my face with fucking hot wings, and he saw I was special. How come you don't see how special I am, Vince, Bruce, John? If they don't respect you, you hit the bricks. If they don't respect you, you hit the bricks. And you know what? Naomi is in a great position to do this because look, she's got Sasha Banks. She's backed up by Sasha, right? That's who she's got on her back. It's not fucking, Riddick Moss watching her back. It's not like, the fucking Angel Garza. Sasha Banks. And that took balls for Naomi to do that as well. Doing it as a team. That's commendable. Respect. And especially if Naomi's contract is coming up in a couple of months, she's like, yeah, fuck you. You've been misusing me for years. You've been telling, oh, maybe we'll put you in the bloodline. Oh, maybe not. Oh, we'll just put you in a tag team. Oh, no. What are they going to do? What are they going to do if Sasha Banks leaves? Who's the name? Lacey Evans? Lacey Evans? Is this the one we're going to lean into? Ronda? Ronda's nothing. She didn't generate buys to WrestleMania. WrestleMania, I underperformed to what WWE wanted. You can bet on it. They did not rent out a 100,000 seat stadium to have it filled up to just shy of 80,000 both nights. No siree. They wanted to fill that puppy up. They wanted to fill it up to capacity to the point where they were like, well, we're going to have to move some structures around. We're going to have to redo the set because we want to open up more seats because we're sold out. They wanted 100K a night, not 78,000 people a night. Trust me. It's not Ronda who's bringing anyone in. And then here's the thing from the report. Your Sasha Banks, keep this right in your brain. You are Sasha fucking Banks. You've got this part-timer weirdo, Ronda Rousey, who couldn't draw a dime if she wanted to, who comes in. Everyone starts treating her like a big deal while you in your heart of hearts, you know you're the big deal. The fans know you're the big deal. You're homegrown. You're part of the WWE system for years. You're part of the women's revolution. You're part of the match that redefined women's wrestling in North America. And you're being told, look, we don't have anything for you for WrestleMania, and we're not going to put any stock and any value into your tag team titles, which we know you really love the tag team titles because you fought for them with your pal, what's her name, Bailey, yeah, your pal Bailey. We know you fought tooth and nail to get these titles, so we know they kind of mean something to you. But over the next 2 months, we're not going to do anything with them, and actually, we're not going to really use them, and we're going to use you to put over Ronda Rousey at the next pay-per-view. Of course, you hit the bricks. I am not jobbing out to Ronda Rousey again. If anything, Ronda owes me. I'm not putting over Ronda Rousey. Hell no. I did it once. She's not doing it again. Why? Because I'm a draw, Vince. I'm a draw. I'm the person who does literally put butts in seats, gets the linear eyeballs on your television stations. That's what I do. Now back to the statement that WWE put out. And this is where a lot of people started going, it's a work. And it's okay. Look, you know what? Fair enough, right? Let me take a sip of water here. I'm a little parched. It's fair enough here. And you've got, that our wrestling radar sort of perks up where you're like, oh, this is a little weird. It's a little unconventional. WWE doesn't usually put out statements, in regards to their talent leaving. This is a little strange, a little bizarre kind of thing. And you're like, oh, cool. This could be a work, but it's not. It's not a work. If it's a work, it is a highly adept one, but it's not a work. They put out this statement, and I'm convinced this is what it is because it is Sasha Banks. If Naomi had walked out alone, they wouldn't have said a goddamn thing. They wouldn't have said a thing. But this is Sasha Banks, who legitimately has contacts in the business, not the wrestling business, the entertainment business, right? She legitimately has contacts. She could turn to anyone, end up on someone's podcast, not the MrWarrenHayes show, like I'm talking about, like an S-tier podcast as opposed to a D-list podcaster like myself, goes on one of these and spills the beans. This statement was WWE getting ahead of a story that they know they fucked up on, and they just want to get the first jab out. They want to get their story out there first, because in the world of PR, that's how it works. Whoever gets control of the story, whoever comes after will have to fight against that. So they're in a position of power by doing this right here. This was absolutely called by someone, somewhere in Vince, Johnny Ace, who cares? During the show, we got to put this out by the end of the program. We got to send this out to the media. And you can tell in the tone that they use and the words that they use, absolutely 100%. Whoever wrote this is fed up of Sasha Banks. They don't like her. They're fed up, and they want to create it in a moment of character assassination. They named them both, Sasha Banks and Naomi, named them both, and then proceeded to say, well, during the broadcast, they went to talent relations, head of talent relations, John Laurinaitis, with their suitcases and dropped their titles and left. Oh, whoa, how unprecedented, how gauche of them. They claimed they weren't respected enough as tag team champions. Whoa, oh my God. And they had 8 hours to construct their match, and they came at the last minute to do this? You see what they're doing? Do you see what they're doing? And then on top of that, they're saying that they said they were uncomfortable in the statement, right? They claim that Sasha and Naomi said that they were uncomfortable in the ring with their two opponents, who are heavily rumored to be Naomi and Nikki Ash, right? Which of course makes no sense because they have all wrestled each other in the past. And this is character assassination. This is high school, this is middle school bullshit drama. Well, I heard that Jessica really doesn't like you. Really? Yeah. She thinks you walk funny. Oh, okay. You see what this does? It just sets these seeds to create the impression, the worst impression that you can give any wrestler when they leave a company. What is the absolute worst thing that you could say about a wrestler when they leave a company? They're hard to work with. They're difficult to work with. That's the killing jab for wrestling fans. Was like, oh, they're difficult to work with. So as I was saying earlier, you remember when I was talking about how your favorites have all complained about something about their booking at some point, right? Well, here's something else. At some point, all of your favorites have been difficult to work with. Do you know why? Because there's fucking hundreds of people in the wrestling business and not everyone gets along. And you are going to work with people who are going to rub you the wrong way, might just be because of actual things that happen or just because you don't get along, because chemistry-wise it just doesn't connect, right? There are people like that. There will always be someone who is hard to work with someone else, unequivocally. And this is what they're doing here in this statement. This is what they're doing in this statement. Getting ahead of it, character assassination. They're going after the jugular because Sasha Banks has contacts in the business, because she is doing these gigs with Kevin Hart and on Star Wars without WWE's help. The promo introduction she did with some college football stuff, which I don't know about because I don't watch college football. All of this shit she's been getting without WWE, without them getting involved, because otherwise you can be damn sure that WWE would be pimping the hell out of it. They'd be promoting the hell. Why wasn't Sasha Banks' role on The Mandalorian a thing in WWE? Why? Because they chose not to. Because they're bitter fucks. That's why. And you can tell how bitter they are because of the statement they put out. They had 8 hours to construct their match. Sure, pal. 8 hours to construct your match, right up until Vince starts tearing up the scripts 5 minutes before going on air. Yeah. We know how this shit goes. And note the tone. Monday Night Raw is a scripted live TV show whose characters are expected to perform the requirements of their contract. This is like the most backhanded, you know what? We have legal recourse comment you could find in this. And then of course, like the most laughable line in this entire thing. We regret we were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event. How many do you know how many times you should put out a statement for that? That you were unable to deliver as advertised tonight's main event? Fuck me. I don't have to pick sides. There's no reason to pick sides. But I'm pro Sasha Banks. I'm pro anyone who stands up for themselves. I'm pro, especially at the level where she is, the value that she provides to that company. It's ridiculous. Now, what's her next move? Oh, by the way, want to say hello to Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Yeah. Hello, darling, and welcome. And I also want to say hello to Safet, aka Sejo Saho BX NYC. Safet, nice to see you and welcome to the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Here's a kicker though. What does she do next? What is next for Sasha Banks moving forward? That's the crux of what we want to talk about here. Sasha Banks and my pal Jeff Hawkins. I'll call him my pal. Jeff Hawkins over at Shake Them Ropes podcast and so on. Former Fightful alum, as I tweeted out, Sasha is the only 4-horsewoman that is a game changer. She is the only one. She's a true to form game changer. If she shows up on AEW Dynamite, as she is draining, they will not go under 1 million total viewers for months, as long as she's on TV on a regular basis. Sasha is a legitimate game changer. And WWE knows this. They're not going to let her slink out of her contract. They're not going to let her go off and do whatever. She's too much of a commodity. They know this. Best case scenario, they let the contract run out. But quite frankly, I don't think she goes anywhere wrestling related. I think once she's done with WWE, she goes and, let's say right now she's dipping her toes in the water of pro wrestling, of Hollywood, excuse me. If she's dipping her toe in the waters of Hollywood right now, if she leaves WWE, it's to jump right in. It's to cannonball in. It's to just like recklessly, without knowing the depth of the pool, diving in head first. That's what she's doing. I don't think she goes to AEW. I think she goes to AEW if a couple of years down the line, she realizes that her post WWE career isn't exactly going her way. What does she do? Well, she cycles back to where she knows she's a star, where she can get paid and be recognized as a top female, the wrestling biz. Maybe then she calls Tony Khan and says, Tony, let's talk. But as it stands right now, I really don't think she goes back to wrestling. As much as I'd like her to go to AEW and force Tony Khan's hand to hire her and put her on TV regularly and have force AEW to put on more than one women's match per show. Because I think that would be an inevitability. I think that would be really cool. As much as I'd like her to go to Japan for a tour, because she's trained with Meiko Satomura, right? And I've said this before. I'm on record and I'll say it again. Sasha's the most talented of the four horsewomen, wrestling-wise. She's a fantastic wrestler. And the way she's produced in WWE does not allow her to shine like she could. Let's go to Japan. Let's go hang around TJPW, Stardom, I don't know, but freelance where it is freelanceable. Ice Ribbon, TGPW, Tokyo Pro, right? Let's go around there. Let's freelance that a bit. Get some Joshi in there. Show us those kicks. Boom, boom, boom. I'd be down for it. Naomi's position is a little trickier. I think Naomi could wrestle anywhere she wants. I really do. And I think she could. There could be a case made for her going to AEW. I think she could go about it another way. Maybe hitting the indies a little bit. Doing a bit of a Matt Cardona thing, where you come down from the Fed, you hit the indies, you build some cred like that, and, you reignite your star. You make it shinier. I think that's a different way of approaching it. Because she's not as big a star as Sasha. I think, if she did join AEW, there would be a bit of a awesome, kind of thing. But depending on how she's booked, of course, I feel it would wear off a little bit. And I mean, look, and I want to say hello to Alonzo Smith. Nice to see you, Alonzo, and welcome. And, brings an interesting point here in the chat, as to, because this is something I did see. I wish, Naomi and Sasha could have gone about this a whole different way, right? Look, we can't be as short-sighted to say, oh, well, they just didn't want to do the storyline. That's why they hit the bricks, right? That's short-sighted. I don't think that's a fair assessment. I really don't. If it came to the point where they have exploded, where they felt the only recourse they had was to pick up and leave, I would assume, and I think it is fair to say that, and there's even been a few reports, a few rumors floating around that this is not the first discussion that they've had about problems that they've had. Sasha's been having, multiple, or at least a few issues with her contracts, so on and so forth. So I think this is a reaction. It's an unreasonable reaction, perhaps, but it is the only way. Sometimes an unreasonable reaction is the only way to react to an unreasonable situation that you are put into. So I have no issue with them going, you know what, I've had enough, and I'm walking out. And I will point out that there wasn't this uproar and this, well, I wish you had done something else, when it came to Tony Storm, who did essentially the same thing. Was like, you know what? I'm out of here. or Jeff Hardy. These people were like, yeah, good job, good job, good job. For some reason, and we're not diving into this on a middle-aged white man's podcast, because it's not my place to say, but I have some theories. For some reason, Sasha pulling this is bad move. You know, you should have checked your attitude. You know, you're acting spoiled here. Whereas when people pick up and leave, they're heralded as somewhat heroes to a degree. Did we say this was going to be a 23-minute victory lap? Essentially, the first 3/4 hours of the show. And I am sweating. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Lots of new faces here tonight. Consider subscribing to the show if you're having a good time, because I'm having a good time. I'm glad you guys are here. Guys, gals, non-binary pals. It's always a good time. You know what I did this week? I've been upfront with it. You know, I don't watch WWE program as much as I used to. Multiple reasons. I'm not going to get into them now. I've talked about it in past podcasts. But I don't watch as much. But I did tune in to watch the Bobby Lashley Omos cage match because they had hyped that from last week, right? And I saw the WrestleMania match. I thought it stunk. I saw the WrestleMania Backlash match. I thought it stunk. And so I'm like, oh, well. And it started off the show. It was like, you know, starting off 8 p.m. Well, it didn't start off the show. We got a 10-minute MVP promo. Let's be honest. It didn't start the show. But it was in the first, like, half hour. This was, I'll watch it. And it stunk. And the finish stunk. But the thing now is that, here's the thing. Folks, I'm invested in this now for some bizarre reason, and I can't tell you why. I think it's just because since I've started, I've got to finish it. You know, it's one of those things. It's really one of those things where when you start something, you're like, I just can't leave this here. I gotta go through the end. It's like when you're playing Civilization 3. Has anyone here in the chat played Civ 3? Civ 3 was the worst for that. It's like 4 in the fucking morning. I've been playing since 8 p.m. And I'm like, just one more turn. And then you're like, man, I cannot, you know, I'm this close to, you know, getting a cultural victory. I got to do that, you know, kind of thing. This is the same. I have to see it through now. I feel like I'm part of the package deal. And I mean, everything stinks. Everything about this stinks. Omos stinks. But look, Bobby Lashley MVP, they shine by their own devices, right? But Omos stinks in his current presentation. He's not a good wrestler. And the matches are terrible. The matches are bad. But yet, here I am. I'm going to push through. So whatever they do with Bobby Lashley, I'm keeping an eye out on Raw. Whatever they do with Bobby Lashley and Omos at this point, Warren Hayes is invested. And you're going to get a full recap of what's happening moving forward in the compelling, thrilling, action-packed Dynamo, which is the feud of Robert Lashley and Omos. So Ric Flair, it's been announced, it was rumored, and then he started putting that he was training to return to the ring, right? Training to return to the ring. Then we have video of him training with Jay Lethal, taking bumps, right? And then it's announced at the next Starcast. Starcast is coming back. July 29 to July 31st, 2022. Starcast 5. Ric Flair is going to be having his final match on at the Starcast event on Nashville. So his opponent, like, there's been a slew of rumors so far. His opponents and possible teammates, and I'm reading this off of the Figure 4 online, his opponents and possible teammates for the match have not been officially confirmed. According to Meltzer, Flair could potentially have teamed with FTR against the Rock and Roll Express and a mystery partner. But that broke down The conventional wisdom here is that Tony Khan put the kibosh on that. He's like, no way. You guys, I'm not sending any of my people anywhere near this thing. I thank you very much for the huge super chat by Brickbat. Nice to see you. And thank you very much. Keep up the Warren takes. Salute. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Very generous super chat. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for being here, man or woman, person, friend, chum. Back to Ric Flair. The other match that had been rumored was, well, I think he had actually out loud said, I want Ricky Steamboat. I want Ricky Steamboat. So Ricky Steamboat was like, he's 69 years old. Nice. But he is legitimately 69 years old. So I'm like, why the hell would Ricky Steamboat wanted, like, Steamboat is fine with his legacy, right? It's like, when Ric Flair's like, I want, but Steamboat came out and said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm good. Cool. So he has a match. We don't have an opponent yet. We'll see how that goes. But then they keep adding on to the StarCast event. We're doing a 4 Horsemen reunion on the card. And not just, and we're not, I think on the poster, I saw Rick, I saw Tully, I saw Arn, didn't see Oli. I saw Barry Windham, I saw Lex, didn't see Jeff Jarrett, didn't see Paul Roma, didn't see, poor Mongo. By the way, positive vibes to the Steve McMichael, Mongo McMichael's family. We're, hoping for the best, hope everything, I mean, all we can do is send prayers for those who can, best thoughts over to the McMichaels family. So Mongo obviously is not going to be there. But, it's like, who's going to... So they're doing the 4 Horsemen reunion, right? Then they're going to do the roast of Ric Flair, which, to be fair, was something that they had planned to do at the StarCast on the pandemic hit. But now they're doing it here, which they're going to sell on as a pay-per-view on Fight. Might as well call this StarCast the Flaircast. But look, don't... And Ric Flair went on, I don't know, whatever outlet let him speak, I don't know. And he said, I'm not doing this for the money. Oh, I'm sorry. Give me a second here. He's not doing it for the money, so on and so forth. Of course, Ric Flair is a guy who lives and breathes the wrestling business, and accolades, records, trophies, whatever, titles, number of titles. All the history of wrestling is meaningful to him. He worked very hard to get a legacy for himself. He really did. And, whether he did it nicely or not, that's up for debate. But it's undeniable that Ric Flair has a huge imprint on the business. And I think he wants to, he's looking at Sting, who's got his second win over in AEW and, going, wrapping up his career with a bang. He's seeing a lot of, the older guys, some of his guys from, from when he was, guys he was competing with who are going out on their own terms. And I think that's ultimately what he wants. So, I made a little joke regarding the money thing, but I'm sure the money thing has something to do with it, because isn't he divorcing? Isn't his wife leaving him? His wife that he wasn't really his wife? So, and he's paying, out the ass, and he's been broke before. Whatever, it's Ric Flair. So on one hand, I'm convinced there's the money, but I think that more importantly for him specifically, I think he's doing this for his legacy. I think he's doing this because he wants to go out, a la Sting, on his terms, not have someone tell him you can or cannot do this. But honestly, this is a guy who a couple of years ago was literally on death's door. And, I have fond memories of great Ric Flair matches, and I'm not sure I want to see, 71-year-old, 73-year-old Ric Flair banged up and just like age, man. Nature took over his body. And nothing wrong with it. That's just the way of things. I don't necessarily want this. And frankly, I don't necessarily want him to die in the ring. You know, that's not something I want to see. I'm not saying he will, but, you know, let's not tempt fate kind of thing. I'm not excited. Like, I'm okay, you know, the roasts and the reunions and so on and so forth, but a final match? I mean, there's so many ways you can do it, right? He doesn't have to bump for a second. It feels so strange to me. And as, you know, I also feel it's his legacy to burn if he wants to. It's all up to him. Let's talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling, if you don't mind, before we move on to Dynamite. Do you want me to talk about Dynamite? We'll talk about Dynamite in a minute. Spoiler alert, I didn't think Dynamite was a bad show. I know there's a lot of people that really didn't like the show last night. Too much good in-ring work last night for me to poo-poo this show. We'll talk about it more in a second. Not a second, a couple of minutes. Because I want to start talking about New Japan Capital Collision that occurred this Saturday in Washington, D.C. We had all of the heavyweights of New Japan hanging out here in North America, but more specifically in the United States, which is the country to the south from where I live. Because right now the junior heavyweights are all in the Best of Super Juniors, which I also am going to talk about right after we're done with Capital Collision. I thought it was a decent New Japan show. I enjoyed it overall. I think, like, you know, there's nothing here that resonated, maybe outside of one match. There's nothing that resonated. It was like, okay, it was fine. Everything that happened here was fine to really good to great. I don't know if that makes sense. But it wasn't a bad show by any stretch of the imagination. Started off with Carl Fredericks defeating Ren Narita in a fucking hot opener. What a great opening match by these two guys. Of course, Carl Fredericks, recent graduate from the LA dojo of the New Japan Young Lions program. And Ren Narita still in there, but holy shit, what a match they had. Just a fantastic stuff. Just really, really fantastic stuff, which ended up having the Factory, like QT Marshall and his boys, come out to go after Carl Fredericks, which actually led into an angle at the Philadelphia show that we're doing the next day on Sunday, and then it bled into AEW Dark. So, you know, some back and forth here. That was kind of fun, but this was really, really good. Strong stuff. Ren Narita is going to be a massive superstar, and he is morphing more and more into Kishiyori Shibata with every day that passes. Just great stuff. Then we focused on some of the talent from the New Japan Strong shows of the New Japan of America division. Team Filthy, made up of Danny Limelight, Jarrell Nelson, JR, Kratos, Royce Isaacs, and Tom Lawler. They defeated the team of David Finlay, Fred Rosser, Tangaloa, who was replacing Chris Dickinson on the card, the DKC, and Yuya Uemura. This was a standardly structured New Japan preliminary multi-man match where everyone sort of gets their spots in. I thought it went a little too long and went like nearly 15 minutes. You could have easily shaved off 10 minutes. It would have been a bit of a challenge to shave off 10 minutes, but I would have shaved off at least 5, because the idea really here was to just get everyone their spots in and to continue to establish the feud between Fred Rosser and Tom Lawler, which is centered around the Strong Openweight title. It was all right. Like, you know, it was fine. Chase Owens defeated the Great O'Khan. Good little back and forth match that they had here. Great O'Khan was the top favorite with the crowd. Everyone in that building was excited to see the Great O'Khan wrestle. The guy's going to be a star, a major star for this company, because he's already getting huge reactions from the American crowd who are excited to see him, excited to see the guy. Match comes to an end when the Great O'Connell goes for the Iron Claw Slam, but Chase Owen avoids, rolls him up for the pin, uses the ropes for leverage, gets the 3. A lot of people were shocked. They're like, Chase Owens defeating the Great O'Con. Well, right now they're embroiled in a feud for the IWGP tag titles. Chase Owens and Bad Luck Fale stole the belts. When I say stole, won the belts off of Great O'Con and Jeff Cobb. So there's an ongoing feud here. It's fine. We had another multi-man match where the team of Bad Dude Tito, which is cool that we're starting to see more of Bad Dude Tito out there, which is pretty cool. And the alliance of TMDK, the Mighty Don't Kneel, Jonah, Mikey Nichols, and Shane Hayes, the former Slapjack. He'll never live that down. He never will be. They defeated the United Empire team of Aaron Henare, Jeff Cobb, Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Davis. Fletcher and Davis, also known as Aussie Open. Good little match, but again, it's one of these New Japan multi-man matches that, stuff happens. Everyone, the match essentially was built to get us to the Jonah Jeff Cobb face down. The two huge, athletic, enormous dudes. Strikes and headbutts between them both. Lariats. Neither man goes down. Drop kick by Cobb. Spear by Jonah. But it's TMDK who hit an elevated slam for the win. Not on Jonah. I can't remember on who. But, just fine match. Again, good pace, good work. Everyone works hard in these matches. Don't get me wrong. It's just, prelim matches. It's fine. Then we start getting into the nitty-gritty here. Minoru Suzuki took on Brody King, who actually defeated the King of Pro Wrestling, as he is known, Kaze Ninare. You know what this was actually, and we talk about this, Sean and I, on Hot Shakes and Hand Dogs, which is our independent wrestling podcast, which you should listen to if you subscribe to the Mr. Warren Hayes channel. You'll never miss it. Minoru Suzuki, right, has a formula for his matches in North America. He's been spending months here in North America, in the United States specifically, going around just defeating guys everywhere on the indies. Everyone from, Kevin Blackwood to, did he beat Biff? No, he did. He lost to Chris Dickinson, but he's going through everyone. But his matches always carry the same formula. You can see it coming. You're like, Daniel Garcia, and it's the matches follow a pattern, and this was a Suzuki pattern match here, where he's a lot looser. He plays to the crowd. He interacts with the referee. He has this spot. So I was like, oh, okay, it's one of these. But the twist here was that Brody King defeated him. Brody King clobbers him with some lariats and then hits that razor's edge pile driver that he does, which is nuts. And he wins. So that was a little surprising and a big win for Brody King, because Suzuki hasn't lost much on his US tour. Really hasn't. Speedball Mike Bailey, Chris Dickinson. I think that's it. I don't think he's lost really to anyone else. I could be forgetting something. If anyone wants to check and correct me, more than welcome. Hey, Twan Mac, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Then we got the match. The match of the fucking night. Match of the weekend. Tomohiro Ishii defeated Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston wanted this match. He got it. He said he was going to go. He said, look, this match, this was the time. This was a match where both guys decided to walk the King's Road here. They wasted no time going strong style on each other with the chops, shoulder blocks. Kingston goes down first. More strikes. More strikes from both guys. A Saito suplex by Ishii and a plain old suplex as well. Open palm strike battle between them both. They're just like slapping the absolute hell out of each other. Belly to back suplex by Kingston. Ishii pops up to his leg, up onto his feet. He hits a German suplex. They're down. At some point, there's a razor thin 2.9 where everyone in the audience thought that was the match. Kingston leaned into it. It was fantastic. Jumping high kick by Ishii. A DDT by Eddie Kingston, but Ishii pops up. Sliding lariat for another close 2.9. We get a back fist party between them both. And a brain buster by Ishii to put Kingston away. What a fucking fight this was. Great stuff. Match of the night. I did not see a better match that weekend anywhere. Kingston delivered. Ishii was like, yeah, bro, let's do this. And then after the match, Kingston's tweeting out on that he's disappointed in himself that he lost, so on and so forth. You know, it's like, fuck, this is good. It's good shit. I keep telling you guys, and it's not even me who came up with it. I think Eddie Kingston's the modern day Dusty Rhodes. He's the modern day Dusty Rhodes. He's a guy, he doesn't look like a pro wrestler. He doesn't have the physique, but he can talk his way into anything and out of anything. And he's got that relatable, hard on your sleeve, emptying my guts out in the ring every time I wrestle, you know, that passion, that thing that you cannot teach people, right? That made Dusty so special, you know? That's what Eddie has. And on top of that, like, Eddie is, as much as Dusty was a product of his time, Eddie is a product of his time. Hard life, you know, gang-related shit, mental health issues. Like, everything that defines 21st century living, right? Extremely relatable guy he is. Working hard, finally getting the big shot. Best promo in the biz, as DGMC says. Big surprise then, following that, Lio Rush shows up. And like, oh, here he comes. He's going to cut it. He's not in gear. He's out to cut a promo. Yeah, he's going to call out, a few folks. And he does call out some people. But he calls out the New Japan Junior division, the junior heavyweights. He's not calling out, the DKC or Fred Rosser, the guys from the Strong brand. He's calling out by name Taiji Ishimori. He's calling out Hiromu Takahashi. He's calling out the big boys from the junior division. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, and he says, look, I'm not medically cleared yet. But when I do, I'm putting that division on notice. So all signs point to Lio Rush hitting the bricks for a tour of Japan. And you know what? I'm okay with that. We're better off in a wrestling environment where Lio Rush is wrestling. Quote. The Bullet Club team of Jay White and Hikuleo defeated the Chaos duo of Kazuchika Okada and Rocky Romero, who was replacing Trent Beretta, who had tested positive for the big Rona. I thought this was a fine match that got better towards the final third. Final third of the match was absolutely fantastic stuff. There's basically, look, this is what this match served, right? We're getting Jay White versus Kazuchika Okada at Dominion in a couple of weeks, right? Now, my prediction, I'm throwing this out there. I'll probably do a prediction for Dominion, a little thingy. But my prediction is Jay White is taking the belt off of Kazuchika Okada. Kazuchika Okada is going to lose the belt at Dominion. Dominion's a big show. Dominion is systematically a big show. Historically, huge things happen there. White takes the title, and do you know why? I'm going to give you 3 seconds to tell me why New Japan Pro Wrestling would take the belt off of the Golden Boy, Kazuchika Okada. Why do you think they take it off Kazuchika Okada? Well, I'll tell you. Because they want Kazuchika Okada to be title free for Forbidden Door. Now, why would you want Kazuchika Okada to be title free for Forbidden Door? Because there is only one match that you can make for Forbidden Door that is the biggest match you could put on. And that is Kazuchika Okada versus CM Punk. My heart says, man, I wish we could get Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada. But you know what? As far as pure, unadulterated star power, there is no bigger match than Kazuchika Okada versus CM Punk. There really is nothing bigger. So I even go as far as to say, and here's a spoiler for my Double or Nothing predictions, which I'll be recording this weekend. Here's the big spoiler. I don't think Adam Page is losing the title at Double or Nothing. I think he retains. Because you don't want titles muddying the waters for a CM Punk Kazuchika Okada match, because neither company will want their champion to job to the other guy. If they both walk in with titles, I promise you they're going 60 minutes. Otherwise, there's no way. There's no way that Tony Khan and Gedo can sit down and like have a nice little cup of tea or whatever and agree on, oh yeah, my guy will do it. No. Free the titles and give this one match, make it happen. Free of time. And you can say to yourself, Warren, there's no point in putting on this big match. The arena is sold out. Yes, but what about the pay-per-views? I am pretty sure that Tony Khan would want a Double or Nothing buy rate for pay-per-views. Not a Double or Nothing, excuse me. An all-out 2021 level of pay-per-view buys. 200,000 is what they did for All Out 2021. Far surpassing anything else they've done before that. And I think that if Forbidden Door does under 200K, I think it's a disappointment. So what do you do then to get people to buy your show? You put two of the biggest names, attractions, wrestlers who can still go. You put them in there as your main event. This is the match everyone wants to see. Okada, CM Punk. Two defining individuals on either continent for the sport. There's no one bigger in New Japan. And arguably there's no one bigger than CM Punk in AEW. That's the match you go for. Danielson, you give him Zack Sabre Jr., which I'm convinced is a dream match for old Zack, although he'll never admit it. And give him that match. Have Danielson, twist him into pretzels. That's a hell of a fun match right there. Moxley, you give him Naito. Hell, you know what? Give him Will Ospreay again. Because, look, I'm going every look. Here's the thing. Okada, the tag match, this is what, it set the stage for Jay White versus Okada in Dominion. That's what it was for. And, the final third of this match was really good because they were doing all sorts of reversals in and out. Jay White eventually gets the win, reversing a sliced bread number 2 attempt by Rocky Romero into the Blade Runner, which was really cool. So the Bullet Club won. And then after the match, Tongaloa came out because after the match, the heels beat up Okada, and Jay White sort of told Hikuleo, "Go on, have at him, beat him up, kick his ass, Junior." Then Tonga Loa ran out to sort of keep he's related. Hikuleo's his brother, his little brother, and he told him, don't do it, you don't turn your back on family. But Hikuleo in the Bullet Club Wars has sided with Jay White as opposed to Tonga Loa, right, who's defected defected. They were kicked out, if we're being honest. All that stuff. So that happened at the end. But I was talking about Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley because of the main event where Juice Robinson defeated Jon Moxley, Will Ospreay, and Hiroshi Tanahashi to become the new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion in a fun match. There's no other way to put it. It was a fun match. And my main takeaway in my notes right here is that Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay have a ridiculous amount of chemistry wrestling each other. It's absurd. It's really, really ridiculous. Now, I know the match that, Moxley's been talking about is like, Tanahashi, you've been ducking me. That he's been doing that for a few months, right? You've been ducking me. You're the only guy who has, who hasn't faced me one-on-one, so on and so forth. Yuji Nagata, I went through Ishii, I went through, but you've been ducking me, you son of a bitch. So I think that's what they're going to angle towards Forbidden Door, right? Give us the one-on-one, the singles match, Tanahashi, Jon Moxley, which is fine. Like, the star power there is normal. Tanahashi is still a top guy in the company. Jon Moxley's a top guy. Go for it. But I think we'd get a better match out of Jon Moxley, Will Ospreay 2, because their match they had a couple of months ago was absolutely electric, like a match of the year candidate. And in this match here, again, they're just clicking. And I'm like, look at the chemistry with these two dudes. It's amazing. A really good match, lots of great spots where, especially the brutal high fly flow that Tanahashi did off the top rope to the floor onto Jon Moxley, who was on a Japanese style table, just went collapse. Hell of a bump. Tanahashi's still doing that shit. It's ridiculous. It's crazy, man, but it's great. Just great stuff. Fun main event. Fantastic match in Ishii versus Kingston. I suggest you go check that out. Good show. Good show overall. It's Best of Super Junior season. And I am gonna talk about the matches that happened for the past 4 nights. We're 4 nights in of the Best of the Super Juniors 29. No Max the Max theme on this one, which is a shame. So we're getting into it. I will preface this by saying I have not watched Night 4 yet. I'm behind by what happened today, essentially. So I mean, I have the results, but I haven't seen the matches, so it's hard for me to really speak on it. But as it stands right now, Nights 1 and 2. The initial matches for the blocks, for both blocks, felt like like the welcome mat, where we're throwing down presentations. Here, let us introduce you to Ace Austin and to Clark Connors and to Alex Zane and Francesco Akira and El Lindemann and Wheeler Yuta, to the Japanese crowd. These are all these people that are coming in to fight in this tournament. So it feels very much like everyone is sort of feeling stuff out, introducing themselves, we're getting to know you, and the work is solid. These are easy listens, fun, a couple of hours of wrestling. The matches are fairly short, 10, 15 minutes. The longest match happened today, I think. Yesterday. No, it was the Hiromu Akira match. That was just over 17 minutes. So, easily digestible, fun matches, but nothing is like standing out where you're like, oh, this is remarkable. No one is having like the run so far, but we're 4 matches in, 4 nights in, And I feel like, look, if you're setting the table, let's compare this to sitting down to have dinner at someone's, right? If you're setting the table as your guests arrive, you're like, here's the fine china, look at these lovely glasses that we have, this is the good silverware, and you give it a polish, it's like, at some point, you sort of have to start serving the food. Because people are getting hungry. You're like, okay, let's go. It's time to eat. Let's get moving. This is where I feel I'm at right now. I didn't watch night 4, but I read a couple of reports, and again, I don't feel like anything is really outstanding yet. I feel like we have to start moving into, all right, now this is awesome, right? Now we're getting the big matches. Because look, right now, I would say match of the tournament so far is El Desperado versus Titan on night 2, May 17, the main event. Great stuff. Absolutely fantastic with El Desperado just being a dick. I love it. I thought it was great. Titan has gotten so much better. He's polished himself off so fantastically. Great showing so far by just about everyone, right? Everyone's doing really good. But this match in particular was very, very good. I also really liked Hiromu versus Francesco Akira, which is a match I was looking forward to. I thought that was very good too. But again, nothing, we haven't had that moment yet. We haven't had this pivotal match of the best of Super Juniors where you're like, okay, this is why these guys are the best in the world. But if, everyone's working to expectations, I guess, we just need to exceed them, right? This is what makes it interesting. It's a tournament. That's what makes it fun. That's what gets people excited and invested in it. Is all of a sudden when you start getting big matches, they haven't landed yet. Not just yet, but we will get there. Standing so far in the tournament, on A block, we've got Ace Austin, Hiromu Takahashi, Alex Zane, and Taiji Ishimori, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, all tied with 4 points. Francesco Akira and Yo with 2 points apiece. And Sho, Kanemaru, Taguchi, and Clark Connors all with donuts. On Block B side, we have El Fantasmo and Desperado, who are tied for 4 points. Dookie, Robert Eagles, TJP, Wheeler Yuta, El Lindemann, and Bushi all have 2 points, with Master Wato and Titan rounding up with the bottom with 0. So if you listened to my prediction show, Best of Super Juniors prediction show that I did with Evan Wright from the MrWarrenHayes Show Discord, you will remember that I said, you know what? I was predicting exactly this, where you would have one block where you'd have a bunch of guys at the top sort of wrangling for the top spot, and another block where you just have 2 dudes who are going to start pulling away from the pack. As it stands right now, I predicted correctly, except that the blocks are inverted. I predicted right now Block A has 4 guys at 4 points, whereas Block B, we have 2 guys with 4 points. Of course, it's very early still, but I think that we're setting some seeds here. And I know a lot of people got disappointed when Wheeler Yuta lost his first match, but to me, that's a good sign. To me, that's a good sign because the way Gedo books his tournaments, usually the guys who come out the gate starting to lose have better showings as we start getting towards the end. Yo last year was exactly that. Started off losing efforts. Everyone was already discounting him. And then all of a sudden, he just put the pedal to the metal. Next thing you know, he's a block contender. He's winning all his matches. So you're like, oh, okay. So I don't discount our boy Wheeler Yuta just yet, who had a very fine match with Robbie Eagles, to whom he lost. No shame in losing to Robbie Eagles either. Robbie Eagles is one of the cornerstones of the division as well. However, he went and lost to Bushi, so who knows? Who the fuck knows what's going to happen in this tournament? We're going to wrap this up as we usually do on the MrWarrenHayes show with the AEW Dynamite review. We are talking about Wild Card Wednesday. That started off with the Owen Hart Foundation men's tournament final first round match. Men's tournament first round match. There's no finals. What am I talking about? Where Samoa Joe defeated his wild card, his Joker, Johnny Elite, John Morrison. And I still, yes, I absolutely saw the official AEW account tweeting the video of John Morrison's return and referencing Johnny Gargano instead. Doing the @ Johnny Gargano. And I was like, that's embarrassing. Because that's kind of it's the better Johnny. Look, John Morrison is fine. This did nothing for me. I was like, oh, well, outside of me just going, good for him. Get a bag. That's fine. Get a paycheck. Get on TV. You know how this works. But, it turns out, I want more blood sport John Morrison than parkour John Morrison. More Johnny blood sport, less Johnny parkour. Because JR even used the parkour word. Oh, it's all that parkour training. And I'm like, no, I don't. Stop it. It doesn't make it cool. It doesn't make it cool. It doesn't make it cool, and it doesn't excuse the fact that when he starts doing this, his brand of flippy nonsense, I guess the parkour stuff, it fucks up most of the time. Like on the 450 splash that he did, where he completely came short on Samoa Joe, and the way he landed, he sort of boop. He landed like on his tippy toes, and he was able to just sort of shove himself forward a little more because he missed. He missed the 450. Starship Pain it's a dice roll every time. Is he going to hit it or not? I still don't know why he uses it. Anyway, there was a moment where he did a sort of a pick and roll, where he rolled to pick Joe's leg, and he got it into got Joe off his feet, flat on his face, into a leg lock of sorts, or I think it was more like an ankle lock. Sorry for it's a little blurry right now, but I do remember like the pick and roll movement. I was like, see, this is cool. This is what Morrison should be doing more of because it actually looked really good. Joe was being Joe. Joe was being himself. I love the energy he brought to this fight, like the energy, right? Felt like almost shoot like, where he was gonna just kicking, being violence, muscle buster. After the match, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh. Who? They all come out, steel pipe. They beat Joe down. And then the best friends make the save. What happened to John, not John, but Joe, with Joe's crew being Jonathan Gresham and Lee Moriarty? Right? That's how Supercard of Honor ended, right? All looking out for each other. The past, the present, the future. Ring of Honor kind of thing. I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but where the fuck is Lee Moriarty on this television program called AEW Dynamite? Yeah, he's been on a couple of times on a couple of rampages too, but like, where's one of the fucking most talented wrestlers out there? Natural charisma. He's got all the intangibles. What are you doing? All this is mysteries to me, man. I don't get it. I honestly don't. It was all right. The match was fine. It was short enough to not be offensive, but just enough for me to say, look, John Morrison, it's fine. We can absolutely move on from John Morrison. And it felt like a one-off. I think it's a one-off. We don't even have to talk about this ever again. Backstage, we get the Bucks and the Hardys who are teasing about the main event later in the match, whatever. Then we get Adam Page taking on Konosuke Takashita, because I wanted to say Takashita and there's a Takashita. Konosuke Takashita, really strong match. Really, really strong match on this one. And Adam Page, again, having another strong wrestling match. I honestly don't understand what people don't see in this title run. Is it because, look, I think the only reason, and this is a fair argument to make. I think the only reason why anyone could be like, well, I'm a little low on Adam Page and I think the only reason why is because MJF's programs have eclipsed the world heavyweight title picture. The thing with CM Punk, now with Wardlow. Because objectively, I said this I think it was last week, I'll say it again. Adam Page has defeated, well, here, let's start over. He defeated Kenny Omega, number one wrestler superstar of 2021. He defeated him to get the title. He went the distance with Bryan Danielson. He defeated Bryan Danielson. He defeated Lance Archer in a no DQ match. He defeated Adam Cole not once but twice, and now he's going off fighting CM Punk. I don't know how is that not an impressive resume? And you know what? All the matches delivered. And maybe the Rampage one was, all of his matches are good. All of his matches are good. Good to great. And this was great. And Takashita, man, I don't know how long AEW have him. Can you steal him from DDT? Can he stay? This guy rules. Page early on hits the sack of shit. And the Orihara moonsault. Takashita with the blue thunder bomb. And a great tope con hilo. They trade Germans and a tombstone by Page. And it hurts Takashita's neck, right? That was the thing. This is the story here. And by the way, can we stop? I can't believe people now kick out of tombstones. Like, everything moves on. I remember when a superplex was a finisher. Funny, I don't see anyone complaining about superplexes not putting people away anymore. DDTs used to be finishers. Mm-hmm. Very much a transitional move these days. For a long time. People come, super kicks aren't finishers anymore. DDT, not DDTs, what's the other one? Look, and now I'm seeing, I can't believe people kick out of tombstones. Fucking Kazuchika Okada uses a tombstone as a transitional move to his finisher. And now he's even stopped using the tombstone, he's using a slam now. Come on. Everything evolves, everything changes. Takashita hits a last ride. Speaking of Undertaker's moves, he hits a last ride and a running knee strike. He hits a German, holds the bridge, but he can't keep it up because it's pressing on his neck that he hurt. That Page hurt because of the tombstone. He goes for a flying lariat, but it's anti-aired by Adam Page with a huge forearm. Just a great move. They go up on the top rope. There's like a top rope lariat situation where I guess Page was supposed to stick the landing. He didn't. Not a big deal. He hits the buckshot lariat, which CM Punk used last week, and he was on commentary, and he was telling us he's calling it the Punk shot lariat. But he doesn't end there. He ends the match with a GTS. And Page's like, I love it. I love it. Imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery. After the match, Punk and Page confront each other. They're standing aside from each other. They're working the crowd. And do you know why they did this? Because Tony Khan wanted to test the crowd reactions. No promos, nothing. It's like, just raise your arms. Let's see what kind of reactions we get. CM Punk getting the bigger crowd reactions, of course, because it's fucking CM Punk. But this was interesting. Anyway, they don't touch each other, and Page walks off. He storms off, and you can look. I think one of the best parts of this story between Adam Page and CM Punk is that neither guy is that Adam Page is pissed off that CM Punk is in his territory. That this guy's coming in and taking his spot, taking his pops, taking his cheers. Doesn't mean he's going heel, but he's like, I have something to prove here. Fired up babyface champion any day of the week. Give me those. I honestly, I love the build to this match. I do not know what problems people have with the Page, with the Page championship run. I think he might even be the first two-time AEW champion. I think there's another championship run in him. This one here is good. Fuego del Sol still wants to fight the House of Black because he's nuts, and he's enlisted the Dark Order to help him. There you go. We got to get this. We have to get this trio stuff on the way. We really do. And Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland get an enhancement match against the Workhorsemen, Anthony Henry and JD Drake. Folks, if you ever want to be crazy entertained with a wrestling match, seek out anything the Workhorsemen do on the indies. They're just a fantastic tag team. But back to AEW. Good stuff. Keith Lee does his springboard, his slingshot body press. The pounds, they do their double team stomp thing. It's fine. Enhancement. After the match, Keith Lee gets on the mic and he says, now we're a top 5 ranked tag team. Then Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs come out. Starks gets on the mic and he says that that's enough talking, and Lee and Strickland are two of the most selfish jabronis. And Starks is not missing a beat on this one. He didn't breathe throughout this promo. He just delivered. And it was hard to not draw comparisons to The Rock's work, early work, especially when he dropped the word jabroni. You sort of looked at him. You looked at the look, the little skinny glasses, and Swerve calls him a bar of soap with a pearl necklace. Then Dino 210 come out with Christian Cage. Then Cage gets on the mic and he has some very lame burns. But apparently he's a matchmaker in AEW now, because now he's challenging both of the titles for another 3-way at Double or Nothing. For the tag titles. We had one at Revolution. Now we're getting another triple threat here. What happened to this? I'm going to have to put some thought into it. But what has happened to AEW being the land of the tag teams? There's something weird. It doesn't feel as special. We're getting single guys being thrown together in tag teams again, and they're getting title shots. Like, I don't know. Why isn't FTR continuing to get this push off of all the momentum that they generated after winning the Ring of Honor titles, then defending them against the Bucks on TV, then Dax Harwood's tournament matches. Like, FTR has momentum and people like them. They're over. I don't know. It's a little weird. Chris Statlander and Red Velvet are interviewed in a backstage segment. Jade comes in. They're hyping up a match. Their Owens, their Owens match on Rampage, and this was very awkward. Very awkward. Then we get to the lashing. MJF, Spears are in the ring. They're ready to lash the hell out of Wardlow, who's accompanied by the security dweebs. Get into the ring. MJF fires off the shots, and Wardlow he's just standing there, and he's no-selling them. And he's no-selling them with the most smug expression. He's like, and he's smiling, and we're all a little turned on, and you're like, Cody bent to his knees during this program, during this very same segment, and now Wardlow is sort of like, Wardlow is the beast. I don't think, like, I've heard things where it's like, is this a message? And I'm like, no. I don't think it's a message. I think this is continuing to establish Wardlow as an absolute monster, because former AEW top star Cody Rhodes could not sustain the pain of these 10 lashes. This guy can. Oh shit. I don't think there's anything more insidious than that. But look, I'm not sitting. I don't have the pencil. I don't have the book. I don't know what's going on. This ruled. MJF is so mad, he starts slapping him 4, 5, 6, 7 times with disregard. Hands the strap to Spears. Spears gives him 2 more. He gets one last one where Wardlow's like, one more, motherfucker, kind of thing. And then the last one, he winds up and he gives him a low blow. And they lash him over and over again while Wardlow is on the mat. MJF gets the Dynamite Diamond ring. Boom! Clocks him one across the mouth. Sean Spears hits the C4. Gets the visual pin before we head into the cage match next week. Friends, this is a perfectly executed wrestling angle from top to bottom. There has not been a single misstep in this one. This was perfect because it established Wardlow as the toughest of tough guys. And then on top of that, dastardly heel MJF set up the visual for the C4 thing. Like, these guys will stop at nothing to keep Wardlow from getting the match at Double or Nothing. This is where we're at. Just, it's easy to overbook, to overcomplicate wrestling angles. It really is. This took a lot of control. It's very basic, but you've got such talented elements in here. And it's just making it so good. But you know what? I'm going to put this out there into the world. It is so good, in fact, so fucking good, that I'm afraid of what's going to happen to Wardlow after Double or Nothing. I'm worried as to how well will he be booked moving forward with Double or Nothing, after Double or Nothing, after he beats MJF. Whoop, spoiler. Because that's going to be the real test. Because right now, This is coasting on an angle that started. When was Wardlow added to the roster? 2020? Late 2019, 2020? It's been set. This is an angle that's been simmering, preparing since then. Now we're getting to this point here where it's just amazing because the components are all amazing. Everyone's pulling their weight. Everyone's doing what's expected, and it's not going too far. It's not going overboard. We're sticking to essentials. We're creating moments. This rules. This rules. So far on this match, on this card, we got a fantastic match with your world champion. And we got the lashing angle, which was also fantastic. The rest was too short. Maybe not great. Or fine. But where it matters, it matters. And it's great. Roppongi Vice are backstage. They cut a promo. Then we move on to the Owen Hart Foundation Men's Tournament First Round match. Kyle O'Reilly defeated Ray Phoenix, or Ray Phoenix, or Ray FedEx, as Matt Ritter would say. And again, we're treated to another great match. Great striking early on. An early dive from Phoenix. Kyle O'Reilly works the limbs, the arm, a knee, like he's trying to take apart Phoenix's offense, which we see. Phoenix puts it over. He tries to do offense, but he can't. He can't do the hook kick because his knee hurts. He can't do the Tiger Feint kick because his arm hurts. He does a Rana into a roll-up, which was fantastic. Kyle O'Reilly pulling out rolling butterfly suplexes. And I'm like, Jesus, this rules. Strikes and kicks. The guys are dead. They're beating the shit out of each other. Phoenix hits a rope walk Rana off the apron to the floor. Got me out of my seat. And Kyle O'Reilly catches him doing a cutter into an arm bar. Phoenix resists. He can't do it. Kyle O'Reilly locks it in. Gets the win. Great fight. Great match. So far on this show, the things that matter fucking matter. All great stuff. Then we get the Jericho Appreciation Society promo. I'm not gonna walk through all the thing, because you know what? And longtime listeners know how, this kind of shit sort of bothers me. It depends, how things like, real life addictions and, alcohol abuse, drug abuse. When, it's an all too real problem in wrestling that has plagued wrestling for decades, still does today, but especially very uncontrolled in an era where I was really into it. Not that I'm not really into it today, but when I was younger, especially in the 90s, the number of wrestlers that we've lost before their time because of substance abuse, because of prescription drug abuse, so on and so forth, is astronomical and tragic. Kurt Hennig, Eddie Guerrero, so on and so forth. I'm just don't want to get too emotional here, but whenever these things get called into angles, references to real life, I always feel we have to tread very lightly, because I don't think these are things necessarily to play with, because look, mind of an addict is very different from someone who has never suffered from that type of ailment, and we don't think the same way for multiple reasons. So, as I'm convinced that no one in the ring objected to Chris Jericho bringing up, William Regal's past, or Jon Moxley's recent stint in rehab. I'm sure none of them really had an issue with that. there's sometimes I'm like, you know what? There's other ways to get heat than just always dredging in the harsh reality, right? There's other ways to do it. There really, really is other ways to pull it off. And I feel like there's been a rash of that recently. And I think we could scale back on that. I think we don't need to reference all of that anymore. And I think Jericho can generate better heat, or can generate heat without necessarily having to really punch home the fact that, you know what, William Regal, you were a fucking mess and you were a drunk, and I'm surprised you're still alive. We all are. And, you know, it is shitty to call it out like that, but I don't know. Like I said, you have to tread lightly in these circumstances, because I don't think I don't particularly enjoy it. And I think last night on Dynamite, I think it was, I think Jericho leaned too hardly into it, too much into it. Because then you get to, because even on a purely dramatic sense, like dramatic writing, you're bringing up William Regal's past and, you know, all the shit that he put himself through, and then Jon Moxley with his stunt in rehab, and then you turn to, and you know, it's very dramatic and it's very heavy, and people are going, oh shit, this is harsh. And you get to Daniel Bryan, and the best he can do to Bryan Danielson, and the best he can do to Bryan Danielson is call him a nerd. You're like, wow, really? See, there's that dissonance there too, where you're like, there's no crescendo, there's nothing here. It's sort of petered out. So, you know, yeah, see, as Kristen says, you know, someone who comes out of addiction comes out of that, when they come out of it, it's strength that brings them out of it, not weakness, you know? So it's very strange. Like, I can understand referencing it, but I feel like it was leaned into a little too much. So, you know, there's some stuff in the promo that did connect, that did work, right? You know, especially when Jericho was about to announce that we're challenging you guys to Stadium Stampede, and Jon Moxley, you know, who is clearly my avatar, came out and said, we're not doing that sports entertainment bullshit. We want to fight. And I'm like, God bless you, John, because this is why I watch pro wrestling. And you know what? That's fine. If we never see a Stadium Stampede match again, I am cool with that. I think that the first one was surprising and creative and whatever. I think the second one was like, okay, we're good here. You know, I don't think we have to run it a third time. And then the thing I really liked about this promo, Jericho's just sprinkling some doubt between Kingston and Danielson. So, oh, look, you guys, you're on the same side, but you don't like each other. Remember, Eddie, what Danielson said about you? You said that you were lazy. Oh, yeah. And you remember, Danielson, you remember what Kingston said, that you were, a judgmental prick. You know, and both guys sort of look at each other in the ring, and the camera shots were great, where Kingston and Danielson sort of look at each other and like, oh, you know, and Danielson's like, I am. Yeah, sure. You know, it's like we don't like each other, but it created just enough dissent that when Eddie Kingston wanted to bum rush the heels, Danielson was pushing him away. It's like, no, don't do it. And then Kingston was like, what, motherfucker? And you see, look, and this is the difference between will they be able to coexist, where it's, you know, the WWE trope, where you just take, you know, the two people who are fighting against each other and put them in a team. These are people who actually have a history, and we're calling back on that history to do like, you know what, you guys are in a team, but you just have common enemies. You might not be friends. So it's more than just, will they be able to coexist? It's interesting. This is how you make this shit compelling. Two people who don't agree with each other. How do you get them on the same team? How do you make that dynamic work? You make it work like this. That's compelling. That's interesting because it's been set up. It's been referenced. It's not just because X is defending their title against Y in 3 weeks, so we're going to put him in a tag team match because what's going to happen? Sparks are going to fly. You know, now you're like, oh shit. Well done. Well done. Overall, I enjoyed the segment. Just, you know, I think Jericho can do better. Then we had the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament match where Dr. Britt Baker defeated her Joker, which was Maki Ito, who came to the ring all in smiles, singing, doing the pop idol thing that she does. And they hug because they used to be partners. And Ito lies down on her back and says, yeah, pin me, Britt. This is for you. But it was a trick because she rolls her up, tries to steal a win. They have a nice little back and forth. And then Baker rams Ito's head in the turnbuckles, but that just fires her up, right? And she starts ramming her head into the turnbuckles. And she headbutts Britt. Tornado DDT, a Kokeshi. But Baker hits a super kick. Lockjaw. She wins. She advances. Fun little match. You know, character driven. Maki Ito. I know she's not for everyone. I like her. I was entertained. Fun little match. Didn't overstay its welcome either. They weren't trying to put on a 5-star classic, but you know what? What they did do, connected. Again, more good stuff on this show where a lot of people seem to be like, this wasn't a good episode. It's very strange to me. This might be one of the reasons why people are like, it wasn't a great episode. Because I feel like from this point on, everything sort of felt a little messier. Serena Deeb interrupting Tony Schiavone, saying, you know, you picked Thunder Rosa to beat me, but that's the most embarrassing. So that's the most embarrassing thing you've ever said, Tony. And then I'm like, Serena, he's the guy who did the butts and seats line. I think that's the most embarrassing thing he's ever said. And the Dustin Rhodes comes out because he's Thunder Rosa's trainer. And she calls him a failure. She calls Dustin Rhodes a failure, saying, you know, that of all people, he should understand what she had to go through to make it in the business as a woman. And she had to have breast implants put in. She had to get her head shaped. Of course, you know, they're referring to her. She's referring to her time in WWE, right? Where she was told before getting signed that she needs to get plastic surgery done if she wanted to work in the Fed, right? So she got a boob job. She got her head shaved, which is the Straight Edge Society thing, you know, where she got picked out of the audience, you know. Because here's the thing: if I remember the story, because she told it on the Unrestricted podcast. If I remember the story, she said something to the effect that she was in talks with WWE, and it wasn't WWE who recommended that she get some plastic surgery done, but she did, and like 2 months later, she was hired. Something like that. 7 weeks, 2 months, whatever. They hired her. And she said, you know, I had to get the breast implants put in to satisfy some old perverts. And she said she had to shave her head to prove how much she wanted it. And he doesn't have the balls to tell her face to face why he would pick Thunder Rosa over her. She slaps him across the face as Thunder Rosa is coming to the ring. Dustin holds her back. She drops the title. Deeb takes the title and cracks it across Thunder Rosa's head. Now this is an example. If you're asking your boy, and I hope you are, because otherwise, why are you listening? This is an example of the content being there, but the execution not being there. Everything that Serena Deeb said in context, her story, it's great. It's great. You know, she's trying to get across the hoops that she, as a woman coming up in the 2000s, had to jump through just to get a job in wrestling as a wrestler, to be taken seriously, right? That's what she's trying to convey. But she's not great on the mic. And that's what it all just boils down to. And I'm not talking about the substance, the content. What she had to convey was compelling, but she did not deliver it in a compelling way. She didn't make us care. She didn't make us feel. There was no reaction. And I question, especially after the promo off that she and Thunder Rosa had a couple of weeks ago, I wonder why anyone thought, let's give Serena the mic again, because that wasn't great. Why would you double down on it? Why did Serena Deeb get over in the first place? And this is where I think that AEW is guilty of trying to overthink their booking here. Why did Serena Deeb get over in the first place? Being a mean, dastardly heel, beating up crowd favorite Hikaru Shida, using dastardly ways, but also being a fucking good wrestler in the meantime. And then doing the Serena Deeb challenges. That's how she got over as a heel, by just beating the shit out of people and being good at it, right? So why isn't she doing that in her lead up to her match with Thunder Rosa? Because there's nothing in this promo that she did last night, that really ignited anything more in this feud. There's nothing that went forward. I'm sort of like, if anything, it's cooled me off a little bit. I'm like, all right. If I didn't know that both of these women could wrestle up a storm, I'd be like, well, I don't know. I wouldn't know what to expect. Wouldn't be excited about their match. I'm still excited about the match, but it doesn't feel hot. Have Deeb come out, beat up some more jabrones. Bring in Willow again, Have her kick the shit out of a smiling, happy, instant connection babyface like Willow Nightingale. Have her beat the shit out of her. Thunder Rosa has to come to save her at the end, kind of thing. Serena Deeb works if Serena Deeb is wrestling. Serena Deeb does not work on the mic. She really doesn't. I was watching this with Kristen last night and I was like, you know what? She kind of reminds me of Brett. But Brett got better on the mic. Brett really did get better on the microphone. She was, I don't know, was it nerves? She's clearly not in her element. So, weird instance here of AEW, I find overthinking the booking here a lot. And you know what? I love Thunder Rosa. I love her to death, but I think she's in the same boat. I think she gets over when she wrestles. I think that's her. These are wrestlers, and in the build up to this match, they are not wrestling. They could easily do New Japan style tag team matches, where the champion and the challenger are in the, are in the ring, and you have two other allies that are in there and two people that can eat a pin. That works. These are all things that can work. Yeah, what if she had beat up Dustin, right? What if she had just low blowed him? The next thing you know, wraps him in a Serenity Lock, and you're like, holy shit. This is something we'd be talking about today. We'd be like, did you see that? Now it's like, It's weird because most of the time I feel AEW is a company that plays to their wrestlers' strengths. Now I feel like they're trying to make their wrestlers do things that they're not comfortable in doing, right? Like kind of like WWE when they try to get Ricochet to cut promos. Ricochet never got over on his promo work. And that's not why he got over in the first place. Because he's a badass wrestler, a genius. But he cuts promos, he sinks. Don't have him cut promos in the first place. And then the main event, Owen Hart Foundation Men's Tournament semi-final match. Adam Cole defeated Jeff Hardy. He moves on. And this was rushed, okay? And I don't know exactly what happened when. But if we are 8 minutes to the end of the show, like if it's 9:52 p.m. Eastern Time, we're 8 minutes in, the match starts, and we get a commercial break in those 8 minutes. Something happened on the show. Something was mistimed. If you had one more ad spot that you had to throw in there, something happened on that show, and we had to rush the main event. Now, that being said, I think the fact that we had to rush through the match protected Jeff Hardy. I think it was fine. Adam Cole won. I think it's the right guy who did win. And the match was doubly rushed because they had a big Nitro-esque beat down angle to finish it off, where the Elite come out to beat up on the Hardys, and it's like, all right. And you know what? I like the this is what I really like AEW Dynamites that finish on this chaos, and commentary is like, it's chaos, it's bedlam, and then camera cuts. It really does remind me of old Nitros that would finish, and you'd have Tony Schiavone, going like, it's like, there's people everywhere, it's chaos, what's gonna happen next week? And then, everything just like goes black. I love it. I like that kind of stuff. I like the ending. I think the fact that since everything was rushed at the end, I think it benefited the match. I don't think a 15-minute Jeff Hardy match is anything I wanted to see. Adam Cole won, right guy going forward. Now the big discussion right now is who is going to face Adam Cole at Double or Nothing. Is it going to be Kyle O'Reilly or is it going to be Samoa Joe? If you ask me, and I know a lot of people are like, Kyle O'Reilly. I think it's Samoa Joe. I don't think you do. Because here's the thing. Everyone is like, oh, they're in the stablemates. Dissension. They set the seeds to keep this elite group together to have probably some kind of fight with the Bullet Club for Forbidden Door. That's why they smoothed over the Red Dragon Young Bucks tensions, right? They're not going to create more tensions when they actually went out of their way to smooth things over so that this would actually feel like a unit, so that once we get to Forbidden Door, they could have a proper feud with Bullet Club members. I'm convinced that's where they're going. So I'm sure that we're not getting Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly at the pay-per-view. Besides, Samoa Joe's the bigger star. Samoa Joe is the guy that more people want to see wrestle, in my opinion. He's a bigger star. Adam Cole and Samoa Joe, my official call for the end of the men's Owens match. Tournament. What am I talking about? There you have it, folks. So, look, I thought this was a good Dynamite. And I think the things that didn't connect were a little more glaring, and people, of course, decided to fixate on that. They just fixate on Serena Deeb can't talk. Chris Jericho, what the hell was that? I think, William Regal, he looked confused at some point. We're going to focus on that. They thought they promised us Johnny Gargano, and we got Johnny. They never promised anything, but it's a Johnny Elite. We thought it was Johnny Gargano. Everyone's going to focus on that. When in reality, you look at this card, and we had 3 great matches. Paige, Takashita, Phoenix, Kyle O'Reilly. And what's the other one? What's the other one I'm thinking about? Oh, no, those two great no, that's it. We had two great matches and the lashing, which was a fantastic angle. Britt and Maki, great surprise as opposed to maybe Morrison. Like, I think people are just focusing on the smaller things, whereas the big things that we got some fantastic wrestling and some good old-fashioned angles here.
Yeah.
And DGMC punches in his picks for the tournament before we wrap up for the week. He says, my final picks: Cole over Joe, Statlander over DMD over Britt Baker. That's interesting because I think Statlander's losing, because Statlander's going to be she's next in line for Jade. And I think she's losing because of that. I think she's beating Red Velvet, but I don't think she's winning the tournament. But interesting. We'll wrap up the weekly wrestling inspection on that note. Why not? Woo, folks. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm just looking really quickly at the stats. This is there was so many people earlier on when I was talking about Sasha Banks. No big shock there, but tons of people showed up tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all the regulars, of course, who come out every week. Yeah, like, you guys are they're the foundations. You're the pillars. The 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pillars, whatever, of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Thank you all, everyone, for showing up tonight. I really, really do appreciate it. As I said, over this weekend, I'm going to be recording my Double or Nothing predictions. Even though not all the card has been set up yet, I think there's a couple of very, very clear paths that are being head down. And I'm going to be joined by Jeff Hawkins. It's going to be old family reunion time as he and I go over Double or Nothing with our predictions, previews, and whatnot. So that'll be exciting. If you're here for the first time, consider a subscription. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I worked for your subscription. That would be awesome. Leave a like on the video. Leave a comment. If you're watching the video on demand, drop a comment. Let me know what your Double or Nothing predictions are. Boom. There's a topic for you. And I promise I'll get back to you. We'll chat about it. I think I've talked enough tonight. I think I've said enough. Let's head on over that. Let's just head on down that dusty trail then. Thank you all very much. Once again, have a great weekend, everyone. And we'll see you next time.